green highlighted with the little star.
So that was the second one. Do you have?
That I'll just go with that one. But
Okay.
you indicated that she had a stacked education.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously I did.
You may go ahead. So and was it that Wednesday then after she goes down to the sheriff's station that then she doesn't come home at that point?
So I don't know where she. So
Okay, she
that day,
left that morning.
she left sometime Wednesday, middle of the day. I don't know specifically when.
Okay.
Detective Riley was at the house. I heard the conversation between them two. She left with the intent to follow him downtown to the sheriff's station. I don't know where she went from there.
Did she ever come back home after that other than to get her stuff?
Not while I was there. I never witnessed her coming back home after that.
And then in February, that's when, February 13th, was that the first pretext phone call?
I believe so.
And where were these phone calls occurring at?
At the FBI office downtown.
Okay. And was this something, had you communicated with her that you wanted to talk to her on that date, or how did they know like she was going to be calling at this point in time?
Who was they?
The FBI.
The FBI. Leading up to that point, there was some attempts at communicating more thoroughly with the defendant.
Yeah.
The defendant reached out to me and said, "Hey, we would need to talk," as you heard in some of the phone calls.
Yeah.
So I believe, as of that, like I said this morning, I tried to keep her on the hook, if you will.
No, absolutely.
Through messages, and then all of those would have been planned to some degree, so I could be there with the FBI agents and the sheriff's office agents.
And they had there was a plan. I mean, you were trying to get as much information out of her as you could.
Me or the
Both you and the FBI.
I can't speak to what their plan or their intent was. My intent was to find my son, period.
Absolutely. And I think you said before when Mr. Allen was questioning, a lot of the things you were saying to her was to try to keep her talking, try to get any type of information, that you can about where your son is.
Absolutely.
And trying, hope against hope to bring him home safely at this point.
Yes, sir.
And if not, then find out what had happened and hold somebody accountable.
My intent was never in that setting to hold somebody accountable. I wanted my son, and I wanted to wrap my arms around him. That's it.
Absolutely. And it appeared, and maybe I'm wrong. So we have the one phone call that occurred on
Testified about this morning. I think those were all February 13th and 14th.
And how, just for my clarification, how long of a gap was there between each of the phone calls? Do you remember?
I don't, but I think Mr. Allen detailed that when he said phone call on this date at this time.
Well, was there, just as far as your recollection, was there a long gap? Were you guys sitting around for like hours waiting in between calls, or were they fairly quick succession between each other?
Mr. Lee, I don't remember. That was a grueling time period in my life to sit there and have to keep my cool. Talking to her when I had a strong suspicion she had all the information. So I can't attest to that, Mr.
Okay. I mean, and it's clear at least that you appear on February 13th to keep your cool very well. It appears, and if I'm wrong on this, your patience on February 14th starts to grow thin. Would that be fair to say? Let me rephrase.
Yes, thank you.
You become more and more frustrated with the cockamamie story she's telling you on February 14th.
I don't know if I think I'm frustrated, period.
Absolutely.
I think I'm at the end of my rope, period. But I did a good job keeping my cool. And if you listen to one of the phone calls, I was a little bit more aggressive verbally. And in a later phone call, I was more patient and letting her give me information. So more calculated than frustrated, Mr.
Okay,
Delaney.
so that was part of this. You're trying different tactics to try to get information. Would that be fair?
I'm doing the best I can to find information about my son.
And Was there frustration by the fact that she keeps changing these stories with no consistency between them? And I think you referred to them. I mean, these are garbage stories.
Yeah, it was very frustrating.
And that they don't make any sense. At one point in time, she says it's Eduardo, and then another point in time, she says Quincy Brown's some type of paperwork fell out of his pants on that date, and that's how she knows he's Quincy Brown. I mean, none of this stuff, they were ridiculous.
Is that your?
I'm asking you, would you agree with that?
Yeah, and you heard me say it. They're garbage stories, is what you quoted me as saying.
And even on that. The first one, the one that we heard yesterday, on that phone call that she had yesterday, she's trying very hard to convince you that she didn't have anything to do when somebody had kidnapped Gannon and had taken him somewhere, and she's trying to help. It appears that is her goal, so what she's telling you.
Mr. Lane, I'm not going to speak to her goals or her intent, what was going through her mind at that point.
She wasn't at that point in time trying to indicate anything, mental health or anything like that. That was phone call. She's not telling you, hey, I'm crazy on the 13th, correct?
I don't believe she said that in any of those phone calls.
But in some of those phone calls, she does make some statements. And I'm going on to the February 13th phone call. He indicates at one point in time when she's talking to you, I have completely parts of the information and not part of the information.
Are you quoting that? Could you say that again?
She told you that she has part of the information, but she doesn't have part of the information.
Okay.
She talks to you about that night after night, I dreamed of different things that have added detail to this.
Okay.
She tells you that at some point she blacked out.
Are you quoting?
Yes.
Okay, then I have no reason to deny her saying that, yes.
At one point, she says, I sit back and remember it, like play it in my mind, play it in my head again, play it in my head again, play it in my head again.
Okay.
She says, when I woke up and like out of the state of confusion, I was going crazy.
Okay.
She tells you all of it was a blur in and out, try to figure it out. I got up at one point and hoped it was a dream.
Okay.
And then on that next phone call that occurred on the 14th, she's talking to you and she indicates you're going back and forth. I think it was the second to last phone call that you had with her. You guys are going kind of back and forth. And at one point, you're trying to figure out where Gannon is. She says, Tesha doesn't know where Gannon is.
I don't remember her saying that, but
Okay.
if you want to show me that, you don't have to, but I don't remember her saying that.
Okay. It's on the recording they have.
Okay.
As far as, and now I'm going to kind of shift to more like just general things of your relationship with Miss Stauch. You've indicated that at some point, and sometimes with her, it's like you're living on a roller coaster. She can be up and down.
Did I say that to someone?
Yeah. Again, this is Detective Bethel. that it sometimes you just got to kind of stay with her and don't ride the roller coaster. Or if you disagree with her, it becomes like a roller coaster.
Sure.
You talked about her with the kids, and you've indicated that, and this would be later in March, you did another interview, and you did this with the FBI, March 6th, 2020. I remember doing an interview with the FBI then.
I did multiple interviews, so I might need to see that one, Mr. Tellini.
Okay. You indicated to them that sometimes it was a little strange. Sometimes she could be really great with the kids, doing everything with them, and then you'd have weeks where she would act like she didn't want anything to do with them.
You mind if I take a look at that?
Yeah,
I don't remember that doing an interview that time frame.
I may approach. You may. Okay.
Hold on, this says February 9th. It says interview of Albert Stauch, February 9th. You indicated March 9th.
That's because the first page has the 3.
Okay.
So you're right. So February 9th, so that's my fault.
Thank you.
I think that was, I'm going to blame that on the FBI because on the first page of that interview, they have 3/9. But you're correct. So on
Can we
February,
clarify what the date actually is of the interview?
you were correct. It is February 9th. You did that interview with the FBI. Yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
But at that point in time, you told them that at some point she would be really great with the kids, and then other times she wouldn't want it. She wouldn't.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
You also, in that interview, I think it was that Monday with Detective Riley, same type of thing. Like 1 minute, considering these moments of trust moments, like right now, I say, she'd be all in, helping the kids, teach, doing homework, cooking, feeding and stuff. And then there'd be days and week, like it's like the kids were left to fend for themselves.
What Monday are you referencing?
The Monday where you had, not the Monday, this would have been Tuesday, when you had the interview with Detective Riley, back to January 28th.
Okay. So this was the interview at the sheriff's office?
Yes, with Detective Riley.
Okay.
And you were telling him, describing how Miss Stauch was with the kids, and you indicate that there are moments and times when she's really good.
Bear with it, it's a live stream.
She's helping the kids, doing everything like that. And then other times where it appears like she's just checked out.
Yes, sir.
You indicated that sometimes her and Aiden seemed to work together to try to get you.
Okay, I'm gonna end it here.